the ministers would give you.
About the only thing I can remember about World War II is Gilmer Blair was the only one that I remember that got killed from Mars Chapel during World War II. And at his funeral, I was sitting in the car with my mother, I guess, and when they did the 21 gun salute, I remember I've heard so much about the war that I thought the war had come to Mars Chapel.
Well, a whole lot of people had family in the war, and then, you know, they was anxious all the time about their safety.
Well, I think once you join the church, it stays with you all your life. And wherever you go, God goes with you. And you should take God with you everywhere you go. I think the church as a whole was just held up real good during all of it.
That's a question that I don't think hardly needs answering. I've been through World War II, Korean War, the Vietnam War, and all of the disasters that we've had, and on every occasion you see an increase in church attendance. People tend to turn to the church when it seems like nothing else is working like it ought to, and that's a shame. You know, it's you wait till something terrible happens to do it. But I see a church attendance improving every time it happens.
I didn't see a drop in attendance. Everybody seemed to be anxious to get to church, to have their loved ones prayed over, and it was just a close time for the congregation.
I don't remember anything any different in hard times or good times. Seemed like it's always been kind of an even keel crowd there.
Well, see, we was in the flower business after I got married and came back home. And we did help do the flowers on Sunday morning and a lot of decorations at Christmas time and all that. And I think I sent some cards and different things, but I was the one that called it home more times than everybody else went, and I usually was the one to stay home.
One of the first jobs that I had was, of course, was Sunday school superintendent. I don't think we even have those anymore. If they do, they don't call them that. But Sunday school superintendent was the one thing that sort of coordinated all of the efforts in the church, in the Sunday school at least. And I thought it was a very rewarding job to have Sunday school superintendent. And over the years, I served on what was called the Board of Trustees, the Council of Ministries. And I sung in the choir one time a little bit. But it served on most all of the committees there are, the trustees and all of the other committees of the church. And then when we decided to build a new church, I was fortunate enough, or forced enough, I guess, to be a member of the first building committee we had when we moved from the old church to the new church. And that was an exciting time, and I'm really proud that I had an opportunity to serve on that committee.
Well, I've helped with the bazaar, help cans, string beans, and I dried a lot of apples for the fried apple pies, and help fry them, and help with the chicken pies. Just green beans, we canned a lot of green beans back then. Wouldn't be about 8 or 9 of us, and we didn't get through about 10, 11 o'clock. It would be about 2:30 in the evening. But we did good. If we made $1,000 or maybe a little more, that was good back then. But it taken a lot of work.
When I was a kindergarten teacher, I remember one little girl in there couldn't even talk plain. And I also taught teenagers. Then one of those students told me I was 16 years older than her. And I also was a member of the choir. And then later, when our choir director left, I was told I had to be the choir director. So I was choir director for 8 years. And even that, after that was over, I was a member of the church. Oh yes, I was a church historian at one time. That's right, I was a secretary too, thank you.
I just went to church. I didn't have no special thing to do.
The only roles I can remember is being a trustee for 3 or 4 different times.
I was secretary of Robert West Sunday School class for 25 years, maybe. It's a good bit.
Well, I already mentioned Sunday school teaching, but I don't know how you call them roles. I've served in several committees, sang in the choir for the whole time I've been here. I've got old singing. But I was the church lay leader at one time, and I was on several committees in the church, and I don't serve that many anymore, but I was president of the Methodist Men, and maybe a couple of years. I also was on the nomination personnel committee, and I was allowed to be named as lay person of the year one year. Well, that was a big move, a great thing the church did for me. And I wasn't expecting that. Well, I really wasn't. But I've served as sung in men's chorus, and I worked with the seniors, the Ramblers. I've been on that church ever since on that committee ever since it started. Well, maybe not since it started, but almost all the time. Other committees and things that, you know, just I don't care about naming them all because it'd take us too long. But I've been an assistant Sunday school teacher. I'm not saying these things to be bragging, but you asked me and I'm telling you. It's many things that you do that you don't call them a role, you just call it participation. And I like to serve, and I've always, when people have asked me, I've always been able to, in some way, to help them, unless it's something really out of my, I couldn't do.
Well, you learn all about the Bible, and you learn to put your trust in the Lord and live a clean life.
I can truthfully say that my association with Morris Chapel, or my membership at Morris Chapel, has been the one thing that contributed more to shaping my experience with Jesus Christ than any other one thing I've been. I think you have to understand what Jesus left for us to do. And that is that we ought to love our brothers, we love ourselves. And I find that pretty true in Morris Chapel, and ever since I've been there, that they're absolutely concerned about their fellow man. And that they're still at it today, and I'm proud of that. That's probably shaped me more than any other one thing.
My minister and the congregation of my church was always faithful to when I had any kind of problems. And they would come to my house and bring food and hugs, and especially with the deaths in my family. And that just makes you close to the church.
They've all been good to me.
Well, there's a lot of things that's done a lot of shaping. Their Sunday school, when I was small, some of the teachers I had, Betty Wicker, Mary Swain, all this had a lot to do with it. Then as I got older, in NYF, I had Mary Swain again, Don and Betty Wicker, Orville and Mabel Dillon, Raymond Beeson, and Raymond and Mary, and Harvey and Fanny Mounts. They all had a big part in my life and got me off to a real good start when I was young.
I needed and wanted to go to church, and I'd like to think it made me a better person.
Especially at the loss of my father and my mother and my husband and my sister, as well as all my friends and loved ones. It's just wonderful, the response you get at the time of a death.
Well, I could name a lot of different occasions, but I'd be remiss in not saying that when I really appreciated Morris Chapel Church more than any other one time was during my wife's illness. It lasted over about 9 years, and I don't know of any time during those 9 years that I didn't feel like that the Morris Chapel's congregation was there and cared and loved you above all else. And so I can say that during that time was probably when it meant the most to me of any one time.
Oh, so many times. See, I've had cancer 6 different times, and they've always been here for me when I'm sick, going through things. And they've been awful good to me this last time. And it's very friendly and loving people there. If you feel down and out before you leave, you go in Morris Chapel Church, you lighten up and feel happy.
I was glad to have them in my life always, but during my father and my mother and my husband and my son's deaths, they were really a comfort to me. Another thing they did was nurture my sons till they got to the age to join the church, and they taught the class for them to join the church, and all 3 of them became church members.
I can't remember any particular time. It just seemed like Morris Chapel has always been there for me, and I'm sure they always will be. If I ever needed anything, I feel like the church family would support me and help me.
Well, that, naturally, that's good times and the sad times. And I've had some of both.
I guess the time that I was most grateful, was truly grateful, was when my wife passed away. You talk about people that are friendly, people who come to comfort, people who come to share their grief with you and offer their help, and you can't believe the food and everything, cards, letters poured in at a time like that, and I don't know how you can beat what I experienced with that. So that's I'm truly grateful for that, and I'll always remember it. And I think it's helped me get through some hard times.
Any young couple starting out should join a good church like ours and teach their children to love each other, their family, and most of all, to love God. Thank you for loving and supporting me all of my life, from the time I was a baby till I'm 90 years old.
Well, I guess looking back over the years that I've been there, I don't know that I'd want to change too many things that that we're doing now as opposed to what we were doing, or even what I see in the future. I think that our view of maybe what our mission is in the church might be broadened a little bit, and I want to elaborate on that. I think we ought to be looking a little broader than we are as far as our mission to the community and the world is concerned. But if Morris Chapel just keeps sort of doing what they're doing as far as the church is concerned, I think we're going in the right direction.
Well, they've been awful good to me when I was sick. So, I've never seen so much food. They keep bringing food. I tell them I'm able to fix up now, but they keep on. But I love to see them come. I told them they could come see me without having to bring food. But it's awful good what they brought.
I would like to say to be faithful to your minister, to be faithful to their staff, and to the Sunday school teachers, and especially be sure that the children's department is taken care of, because that's where our new members come from.
Well, I just say that the current church family is doing a great job, and Morris Chapel is a great church. And when I came to Morris Chapel Church, they opened their arms to me, and they offered me a place to come where I felt that I was welcome. And so I say to them that if they'll open up their arms and welcome others in like they did me when the older folks welcomed me, and if they will be a great church if they keep doing that, and I think they will.
To keep going strong and to teach others to put God first.
Well, I could say, but I won't, and because I wouldn't be true. I'd like to see a mega church, but I'm not convinced that mega churches are the answer to what the church ought to be doing today.